Hey, good morning, friends. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. Let's get Instagram going. Good morning, Instagram. Come on, let's wake you up. There's a picture. Hit go live. All right. I think actors here tone it down and accidentally kill the scene. Good morning, friends. This is the morning report from the Working Actor NYC. Today is Friday, May 22nd, and I had a really good workshop with a casting director last night. I went to, it was actually held at the Barrow Group in the old Ripley Greer building, still there. Good morning, Miguel. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I had a workshop with casting director Caroline Palmer-Allegrand, who works with some fancy casting directors on some fancy projects. She talked a lot about building a TV show with Billy Crystal with Tara Rubin, and she's worked with a number of terrific casting directors, and she spent many years at Bull, the CBS procedural that is shot just around the corner from where I live. And it was actually a really interesting class. Carolyn clearly does a lot of coaching of actors with self-tapes. She and Good morning, Nikki. Good morning, Corrupted. So she was very used to coaching actors through their scenes. And it was a very interesting strategy that she'd had. Good morning, DH Mobile Mech. This is the morning report from the Working Actor NYC. Welcome wherever you are, whatever you're working on. Let me know what you're working on in your acting career today. So yeah, last night, so there was a lot about this workshop with Caroline Palmer-Legrand that actually felt like class. As if you've seen my recent posts, you'll know that this is not always the case. But she did confirm, of course, that doing these workshops, doing these classes, and this one was organized, this one was free. It was through the Casting Access program that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation organizes, and it was a full class. There were 20 scenes, 20 students, varying degrees of ability, as is always the case with these things. But she was actually very helpful. It was interesting to me the number of students that she didn't give any notes to. She said, "No notes. That was terrific," or "No notes. I know your work. Well done." I mean, she didn't have anything to add. Good morning, Run the Scrum. Welcome back. So it was interesting to see that this was a very different style of workshop to some of the others that I've taken in the past. She really was there to try to teach something and to make sure that we got something out of this class. And most of her direction was focused on a filmic television performance. She finds that a lot of actors, she needs to give the note to them to tone it down. Tone it down does not mean kill the scene. It doesn't mean speak in a monotone. It doesn't mean lose the enjoyment of the scene. It doesn't mean lose the emotional arcs of the scene. What it does mean is that for her, was that she wanted the emotional peaks of the scene to be smaller. It didn't mean don't have emotion. It meant to tone down how extreme the fever chart gets. That's the fever chart analogy is mine. But she kept coming back to it. She would note one thing about somebody. For example, with one guy, he yelled at one point, and she said, "Can you still have that same emotion but not hit that volume?" Another guy was doing a lot of sort of frowning with his face, and she's like, "If you just relax, keep the emotion but relax the face." That was what was drawing her attention. So there was a lot to It was, she really did try to make sure that she was articulating what it was about toning it down for TV, toning it down for the camera, that would be helpful for actors, which I appreciated. It's not crystal clear because, of course, what we're talking about is subjective. But I did find it interesting that she was very keen to impress, not to lose the emotion of a scene, but to maybe take down the peaks of how that emotion gets expressed. But there was a lot of tactical, little tactical materials in this class as well. On Zoom, look straight at the reader. Sometimes that looks like you're looking straight at the camera. But she said on Zoom, look at the reader if you have a Zoom callback. She prefers one take based on the most educated guess of what you've learned from the material from the side. Subjective and a very American style, says Philip Sadler. Interestingly enough, Caroline Pomier Allegrand is French. um, it's just a filmic style, I think, more than anything else. Um, and I certainly the impression that I got was that this was about her preferences. Um, but it was interesting because when she did specify tone it down in somebody's scene, the scene was better. So yes, it's subjective. We all have different reactions to different performances. But I did think it was interesting. Hi, friends. This is the Daily, the morning report from the Working Actor NYC. Let me know what you're working on in your acting career today. So yeah, another thing that she encourages in her coaching clients is a relationship map. When you have an audition, take careful notes of the casting director, the casting associate, the casting assistant. Who are the people paying attention to this audition? And if you can get that information and start to build a visual map for yourself so that you can start to join the dots of how this industry is interconnected. And certainly the more I work with all of these casting directors, the more I notice that nobody's attached to one office for all the time. Hi there, welcome. And it's the interconnectedness. Casting directors are all freelancers and they end up in different offices at different times. So your work that you've done, what you've done great in one audition may transfer over into another office in ways that you don't even know or realize. So I loved that she was talking about building the relationship map. The other thing is that a strategy that she used for the class was she asked everybody to say what they overthink about. And so a lot of interesting things came up over the course of that. And for one person, it was the lack of feedback. And in this very class, Carolyn skipped over giving an adjustment to maybe slightly less than half the participants. And so this actor said, even when you say, I have no notes, it was good. It feels like, I'm just looking for some feedback. And Carolyn heard that and said, no, you did great, which is better than nothing. But it was interesting because it became this discussion of that lack of feedback can be so frustrating. But Carolyn's point was, can you wait for the role to find you? Because you can be doing great work and you don't know it because you don't get the feedback, but you still get called in the next time. You still get the callback, but you don't book the job, but you do keep staying in the mix. And can you wait for the role to find you? That's the question that we all struggle with, I think. But I was happy for her to say it out loud. Procedural, I asked a question about not so much about pace, but about letting go of the idea that I need to make it snappy because it's a procedural for a procedural. And she made the point that if you have procedural language, if there's medical jargon, if there is medical language, if they're in a, in a hospital procedural, if there is detective language in a police procedural, those are the things that they want to see, that you can wrap your mouth around those things and get it out. That's what they need to find out from your audition, is can you get those things out without stumbling over them, without it slowing down production, because they do have a lot of material to cover in a procedural. And so one of the things you can demonstrate in your audition is you don't have to do everything at that pace, but if you can get through the material that shows that you can cover it. And I literally did that in my scene and then messed it up. Great job, Benjamin. Listen up, Intel's flagging the Rivera cartel from central Mexico. One of their lieutenants is coming to trial here in a couple of weeks, and they have a long history of revenge killings in response to police actions against them. Whether or not they're exporting their methods along with their materials, that's what they've jumped on. Like, there was that whole chunk of material that was like clip, 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 get through it. And then the turn was about noticing one detective and saying, "How's your father?" So it was interesting because, yes, there's room for both. And she kind of said the same thing, like when people were asking about doing two takes, she was interested to find out whether or not you could send one take that included both aspects of the tape. So there was a lot to take away from this class with Caroline Pomer Allegrand. She's particularly interested in the beginning of the scene. Yes, you've got to capture the attention at the beginning of a scene. Always keep the breakdown in mind. Don't let your work on the scene let you lose track of the character breakdown description, because there's key information there that they need to make sure that they see in your audition. Let me know if any of that rings true for you. Let me know what you're working on today. I have got to catch up on some coaching client material because I am behind. There's just been a lot going on. But I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope you'll join us tomorrow for our live recording of the Working Actor NYC podcast. It will be at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. And tomorrow we're covering audition stories. So if you have a particular audition story, I would love to share it with our audience. Make a little video, tell a little 2-minute story about your audition story. It can be crazy direction that you got. It can be a crash and burn. It can be a moment of complete and utter triumph. We want to hear all of it. Tell me your audition stories. That's what we'll be covering in tomorrow's live recording of the podcast, the Working Actor NYC podcast. And I want to hear from you. We'll be on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. And you can join us live and let us know your story, or you can send me a video, DM me a video, a 1 or 2 minute video telling your audition story. We'd love to share it with our audience. All right, friends, whatever you're working on in your acting career today, remember, you got this. Keep going. And the Daily will be right back here at 8 a.m. on Monday morning. Thanks for joining me. This has been the Daily, the morning report from the Working Actor NYC. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you on the podcast tomorrow.